Yo, what's up everybody? Thanks for tuning in again. Today I'm going to be actually doing a two-part series about eggs. On the first part, I'm going to be talking about the best way to shop for eggs or the best eggs that you can buy. And in the second part, I'm going to be talking about the best way to consume eggs. There's a lot of misconception that comes when we're talking about this topic. We've got questions like, should I just eat the whites? Should I just eat the yolks? If I do eat the yolk, is the cholesterol going to, cause heart disease? Is there a difference between white eggs and brown eggs? Or do they just make brown eggs so they can charge me more money? Does it matter how I cook them? Should I cook them? If I eat them raw, am I going to get salmonella poisoning and die? These are a few of the different topics that I'm going to be talking about here over the next two videos, but basically eggs are a very inexpensive way to get a lot of high quality nutrients and very high quality fats and proteins. And it doesn't really matter that, organizations like the USDA refuse to acknowledge that there's a direct link between the food that the chickens are fed and the nutritional value of their eggs. These organizations are heavily funded and influenced by big wealthy food manufacturers. All you've got to do is look into these kind of things for yourselves. It takes about 2 seconds to come up with a common sense conclusion of crap in equals crap out. So we easily understand this when we're talking about pregnant women, like what they should and shouldn't eat, because we know it's going to affect the baby that's being produced inside of them. So why would this be any different when we're talking about plants and animals? Produce that's raised in nutrient depleted soils obviously means that it too is going to be nutrient depleted. And in this case we've got animals that are being raised in cages. They can't move around, they've got no sunlight, they're fed all sorts of different crap that I'll be talking about in a minute. They can't produce healthy offspring. I mean, honestly, which would you rather eat? Eggs produced by chickens that are stuffed in small cages with multiple other birds. They have no room to move around, they get no sunlight, which means their body can't produce vitamin D, and they're fed all sorts of different things. We've got soy, corn, cottonseed meal, and those are the top 3 genetically modified foods in the United States. And on top of those, they also use other synthetic additives. Or would you rather eat eggs from chickens that are free to roam outside with plenty of space? They're on a grass field, they're in the sun, which means their bodies now get to produce vitamin D, and they're fed their natural diet, which consists of seeds, green plants, insects, and worms. And obviously if they are organic, then that means the food they're eating also has to be organic as well. So in a future video, I'll be talking about genetically modified foods and some of the effects on the body and stuff like that. But a study that I came across recently, it actually came out in November of 2007. It's by Mother Earth News, and they showed that organically fed, cage-free or free-range chickens produce eggs that have 1/3 less cholesterol, 1/4 less saturated fat, 2/3 more vitamin A, 2 times more omega-3 fatty acids, 3 times more vitamin E, and 7 times more beta-carotene than conventional or commercially raised eggs. In another study was a British survey, and it showed that 23% of the conventional egg farms tested positive for salmonella, compared to only 4.4% of the organic egg farms that were tested were infected. And of the 23% that tested positive, it was very prevalent in the farms that were in the large holding size category for this study. And in this study, the large holding size category was 30,000 birds or more. And it's very common to find commercially or conventionally raised egg farms containing over 500,000 chickens. So very safe to say that a lot of these eggs are possibly infected with salmonella. An interesting thing you guys might like to take a look at is if you Google images of caged chickens. Now even if you're not concerned with your own health, hopefully you care enough about animals to know that the way they're raising these things in these poor conditions or torturous conditions, it's not acceptable. And every time you buy conventional or commercially raised animal products, you're basically supporting how they're raising these animals. Your dollar speaks louder than anything. And also another interesting thing, because they're raising them and feeding them this poorly, they also have to give the animals doses of antibiotics so they don't get sick and die. And of course those antibiotics get into the eggs or into the chicken meat, which we then eat. And the only reason they care if they die is because then they can't make any money off of, dead chickens. It has nothing to do with your health, basically. And the last thing I really wanted to talk about with this topic was the omega-3 eggs. A lot of people talk to me, oh, I got the ones that are omega-3 enhanced, because I'm a big promoter of omega-3. But the omega-3 eggs, we want to avoid these, basically because the chickens are fed a very poor quality form of omega-3. It's usually already been oxidized and gone rancid. And, they also are more perishable than the regular, just free-range organic eggs. If you're able to contact the farmer, though, like if you go to a farmer's market and get your eggs, you can find out if they're feeding the chickens seaweed or kelp, and that's a much better source of omega-3 for the chickens. Ideally, personally, I would just go with the organic, cage-free, or free-range eggs. That's by far the best. A brand that I've found from Whole Foods that, I highly promote, and I've heard a lot of other guys that are, world-renowned nutritionists promote, is a brand called Friends, Frenz. They come in a pack of 6, and they cost about $5, but it's a little pricey, but again, it's your health, so you decide. I mean, if you're a person that drives a brand new car or wears, $200 pair of jeans or shoes or something like that, I mean, and then you roll your eyes at this, it's basically just reevaluate your priorities. It's your health. Another great option is, to find a farmer, and this way you can, for those of you that shop at Whole Foods, go to the farmer's market, you could find a farmer, and then that way you can be sure of the quality of the eggs. And while we're talking about this omega-3 topic, I also think it's important for you guys to know that, commercially raised eggs have an omega-3 to omega-6 ratio of about 1 omega-3 to every 20 omega-6s. And we already have a big enough problem in America, actually in the world, with our omega-3 to omega-6 ratios, so we don't want to do anything to offset these anymore. An overabundance of omega-6 fatty acids facilitates the development of inflammation in our bodies. So we definitely want to stay away from the omega-6s. We get a lot of that from our grains and stuff like that as well. And also anti-inflammatories, they are amongst the most sold drugs in the world. Ideally, we want an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio of 1 to 1. Maybe as high as 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 is acceptable, but currently the average in America is about 25 omega-6s to 1 omega-3, and it's not uncommon to see it as high as 50 to 1. So of course, in an upcoming video, I'll be talking about, some things we can do to bring our omega-3 to omega-6 ratios back to or closer to the ideal range. So make sure you subscribe, because I don't want you guys to miss part 2 about how the best way to consume eggs. Thanks again for watching. You guys take care, and I'll be back soon.